What is the number one skill that you need to be able to express yourself clearly in English? It's vocabulary. If you don't have the right words that you want to say when you speak, well, you're not going to be able to express yourself. But I have some good news. Today, you are gonna learn 250 new English expressions with pictures. Hi, I'm Vanessa from speakenglishwithvanessa.com, and like always, I have created an amazingly huge, important PDF worksheet, more like an ebook for today's lesson, with all 250 expressions, definitions, sample sentences, and at the bottom of this worksheet, you can answer Vanessa's challenge question so that you never forget what you've learned. You don't want to miss this free PDF worksheet. It has so much valuable vocabulary and information for you to help you express yourself. And it's free! You can click on the link in the description to download that free PDF worksheet today. We're going to take a look at pictures in 5 different categories. And some of these pictures are from my life, so I'm excited to be able to share a little window into Vanessa's life with these pictures. Some of them are very special to me too, so I'm excited to share them with you. Let's get started with our first category, which is relationships. Let's go. The first picture for this first category of relationships is this lovely couple. You can see that they look like they're on a date. Yes, Dan and I are on a date. This is a whale watching tour on an amazingly old boat. It was so cool in San Diego. We did this. And you can see that we look pretty comfortable together. We're not on a first date feeling awkward. We look pretty comfortable together. He has his arm around my shoulder. And we would say that because our bodies are touching in public, we are experiencing a fun expression, PDA. PDA is public display of affection. And this is a really cultural thing. In some cultures, couples never touch in public, and in some cultures, couples touch a lot in public. In the US, it kind of varies, but this type of PDA is pretty common. Our hands are touching, his arm is around my shoulder. This is socially acceptable PDA. For our next picture, you can see this lovely family. This is Dan's great-grandma and her great-grandchildren. They're spending some quality time together, making memories, and they are going to grandma's house. So we often use this type of expression, what are you doing this weekend? I'm going to grandma's house. It could be that you're just spending the day, you might be spending the weekend, but it's often something that we have special memories about. I'm going to grandma's house. Because everyone here looks really comfortable, we could even say that they're close-knit. Close-knit, we get this idea of tight, close together physically, but also emotionally, that they feel really comfortable together. They're close-knit. So we might say we have a close-knit family. Here's a picture of friend relationships. This is a big summer gathering that my family hosts every summer with all of our friends. We have lots of pizza, some cake, a big slip and slide. All of our friends and their kids come, and we just hang out together. So we could also say, this is a get-together. That's a noun. This is a get-together. Or you could say, we are going to have a get-together this weekend. Want to come? A lot of these people are close friends, and if you have one special close friend, you might say, she is my BFF. Do you know what that means? Best friends forever. She's my BFF. But here we have a lot of family friends. And do you know what? Even though it's fun to meet people who are very different from you, oftentimes people who are similar end up becoming friends together. So a lot of these people here, we might say we are birds of a feather. Birds of a feather, the full expression is birds of a feather flock together. And a lot of us who are parents, we are raising our children in a similar way. We have similar values. And, that's kind of important for friendships, that you have similar values. This is a very different picture. This is a team. A team is a different type of relationship. These are the New England Patriots. They're one of the most popular American football teams. And you know what? They're pretty good. They make a good team. So if you get along well with your coworkers, or if you're on a sports team and you really work well together, you might say, we make a good team. You could even say this for your partner. So if you have a husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend, you could say, yeah, we make a good team. We have different strengths, so we help each other. There's also a common type of expression, you could say, that we often say with team, T-E-A-M. Together, everyone achieves more, T-E-A-M. Together is better. So that's also something sometimes we say, together is better. Or we might say, teamwork is dream work. It's very cheesy. Sometimes that's a phrase you might see on an office wall, trying to encourage people to work together. Teamwork is dream work. Or you might see, I remember this was a poster in my high school math class. There is no I in teamwork. So there's no room for me as an individual, to stand out, because we are a team, we work together. There is no I in team, T-E-A-M. There's no I, there's no letter I, but there's also no I, like me individually. Nope, we work together. Here we have a separate type of team, but similar lines. These two people are colleagues. That means that they work together in the same business. When you are a colleague with someone, you need to be a good team player. That's also something you could say in an interview. I'm a good team player. I work well with other people. I imagine also they are probably collaborating. Collaborating is a great big word. And it just means that they are sharing ideas with each other. They're collaborating on a project. It also looks professional. It doesn't look extremely professional. You know, his shirt is untucked. She has a sleeveless dress on, but it's still a professional setting. They aren't, on the beach or something. They're in a somewhat professional setting. But something that you never want to be, if you are someone's colleague, you do not want to be a slacker. So these two people look like they are working well together. They look like they're collaborating well. They're good team players. These people do not look like slackers. A slacker is someone who lets the other people do all the work while they just sit back and watch what everyone's doing. So don't be a slacker. No one wants to have a slacker on their team. Here, talking about working together, here is a classroom. This is actually my husband's classroom. He teaches STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Feels like that could be 10 different classes. But here his students are working on some art technology. They're creating a comic strip on the computer. And they look pretty studious, I would say. That means that they are really focused on their work. They're not being distracted. They're not looking elsewhere. They are studious. And they're working together or in partners. So partners is two people, but they're also working in groups. So we might say this is group work, or they are partners. So they're working together on this. It's also a class project. It's not just an individual project. This is something they're doing in class. It's a class project. And hopefully, if they do well, they will pass with flying colors. And you know what? These comic strips that they made were great. They were hilarious. Dan showed me some of them. It was awesome. This final relationship picture is a slightly different type of relationship. This is a mentor relationship. So we can see here the guy with the orange shirt looks like he's pointing to something on a paper. And we can imagine that he's teaching this guy with the blue collar how to do something, how to do his job better. It looks like an office setting. He's trying to teach him something. And it's possible that the guy with the blue collar, he's asking for advice. Maybe he was asking for some guidance about how to do his role, because the guy with the orange shirt, the mentor, He is a good role model. He knows how to do the job well. He has been successful for a while, so he's a good role model. It's a good person to ask. If you want to ask someone for advice, maybe like me when I was starting my business, I had no idea what I was doing, and I asked a mentor, someone who had been doing the job for a while. I asked him a great question. I said, "Can I pick your brains about how you are doing your job? I want to do that too. Can I pick your brains?" It just means, can I ask you some questions because you know stuff that I don't know and I want to know that stuff. And when someone is a mentor, because it means that they know more than you might say, "I look up to him." It doesn't just mean that he's taller than you. He might be taller than you, maybe not. It means that you respect that person. So you could look up to a mentor for their great knowledge and success. You could look up to a parent, your mom or your dad, your grandparents. If you respect them, you look up to them. All right, let's go on to the second category, which is ages or phases in life. We are always getting older. So let's look at this first picture. Here we can see different generations. I imagine this is a grandmother and a grandchild, and they have a computer in front of them. This is very typical of a generation gap. That means that there is a huge difference in the life experience of the grandson. He probably knows a lot more about computers than his grandmother. So there's a generation gap. He might not understand her very well. She might not understand him very well, but it still means they can have a good relationship, right? And we might say, they look similar. They both have a nice smile. We could say their smile runs in the family. It's something that's similar for all the family members. So if an entire family is really good at music, you might say music runs in the family, or brown hair runs in the family. But for example, my husband Dan has red hair, but his parents don't have red hair. His grandmother has red hair, or used to have red hair. So we could say it skipped a generation. Red hair skipped a generation. None of my children have red hair, but maybe their children could have red hair. It will skip a generation. And a lovely phrase that I want to also add for this picture, I could imagine that right now, this grandma is telling her grandson some stories about her childhood. When I was your age, we had to go to the library to find any information, and the library was a 12-hour walk away. We couldn't just open the computer and find information. When I was your age, this is a great phrase that grandparents often use when they're telling stories about their childhood. This picture, this is a very personal picture. It is one of my favorite pictures of all time, so I'm very happy to share it with you. In this lesson today, there's a lot of special pictures that are close to my heart. This is one day after my baby was born. And in bed, you can see all of my children. My son Freddie beside me had been coloring with markers. There's marker on his face. And my son Theo is very excited about his baby sister. This is a very typical view of motherhood. It is rewarding, it is very fulfilling, and it is also busy. And we might say this is an example of a mother's love. Oftentimes we say a mother's love is sacrificial. They are always giving to others. So if you are a mother, or if you had a mother who was like that, maybe they were always giving to the family. But at the same time, we can get the idea that a mother will always be protective of her family. And sometimes we use the fun phrase, a mama bear. That means protective. If you say something mean about my child, I'll become a bear. So this is becoming more and more common to see on the internet. There's even t-shirts sometimes. There's little memes, a mother bear or a mama bear. Someone who's willing to do anything to protect their family. And also, I don't know if you can see any physical difference here, or physical similarity, but I do think my children's personalities are similar to mine and similar to my husband's. So we might say, like father, like son, like mother, like daughter. You could say like mother, like son, but oftentimes we have the same gender. So like father, like son, like mother, like daughter. My daughter is still too young to know her real personality, but we'll see. Anyways, I was very happy to share this special picture with you. You can see on the table on the far side, Dan brought me a wonderful lunch, filling lunch to be able to help me the day after I gave birth. So there you go. Very special family picture. Here we can see childhood. Childhood is another age or stage in life. And here my kids are being quite carefree. Carefree means not a care, not a worry in the world. They are playing in the mud. In fact, they made this mud. They put our hose here and they said they wanted to create a pond. So they made a little dam and they made a pond and had fun. They are most importantly using their imagination. Yes, they have a toy there, but they're absolutely using their imagination to create fun with this mud pond. And this was just this past summer, but even since then, they have gotten bigger. My kids have gotten bigger. So sometimes we say for children, they're growing like a weed. Whew, so fast. Oh, here we see some teenagers. Who are these good-looking teenagers? In this picture, I was 17. I was just about to turn 18 years old, and Dan was 18. And I saw that he had these blue plaid pants, and I said, oh, I have the same pants. Let me go find them. And I ran to my room, and I got these pants. And you can see we're a little bit awkward together. We're just friends. We're just friends here. But you can see Dan's a little interested. But we had the exact same clothes. So maybe it was destiny. But we can talk about teenagers to say they're in between childhood and adulthood. This is kind of a transitional period, a big transitional period where we're becoming more independent. Maybe you have some puppy love. Maybe you're childhood sweethearts or high school sweethearts, or here we are college sweethearts. We use the term sweetheart to talk about when you've known someone and you've had a crush or loved someone from when you were really young. Here, yes, it was half my age ago. 18 years old? Yeah, pretty amazing. Wow, I've known Dan half my life. In this picture, we see adults. These people are not teenagers, they are adults. Sometimes we also say for the term adult, we say they're grown-ups. Oftentimes we use this with children or when we're comparing it with children. So for my kids, I say, don't cross the street unless you're with an adult, or unless you're with a grown-up. And notice the pronunciation. For me, I say adult, adult with the same vowel, adult. But some people say adult with that kind of emphasis at the end, adult. Or they might say he's an adult. Some people say that. I think the most common is adult with the same vowels, but you will hear some variations in pronunciation. I would also say that another term we use for young adults is working professionals or young professionals. So there might be a meetup group in your city for young professionals to meet each other. You don't work at the same company, but it's just a way to get to know other people. If you are around this age, you might be looking to settle down or looking to put down roots. This is an indirect way of usually saying, I'm looking to get married. I'm looking to have more stability in my life, because when you are a grown-up, when you're an adult, you're looking to settle down. You don't want to just date 50 people. Instead, you might be more interested in settling down. And as you get a little bit older, I would say maybe 40 years old. Oh, sounds too close to how old I am now. We could also say you are in the prime of life. So you are young enough that your body still works well. You still have energy. And you have maybe some more money than you did when you were 18 years old as a teenager. And you are in the prime of life. You're able to do things independently. And this is a really, hopefully, good time of life. Let's take a look at the next stage of life, which is retirees. This is my mother-in-law, and my father-in-law recently retired, so they are free. These are their golden years. And do you know what they're doing? They are making a bucket list and checking off all of the things that they want to do. For them, this means going on a lot of adventures. They have more time for their hobbies, which is learning new things, kayaking and finding shells. And they have an RV and they've been going around the country doing things that they want to do. Because they don't have to work now. They are retired. They can take it easy. So we often use the expression for an individual. He is a retiree. That's the name of the person, kind of like employee, retiree. But we usually say he is retired. He is retired. I am retired. So you could say, I'm a retiree. It's kind of a mouthful, kind of tricky to say. So instead, it's a little bit more common, I think, to say, I'm retired. I'm retired. So because I have all the time in the world, I'm going to go kayaking in Florida. Cool. All right. The final picture in this ages category is another very special picture. This picture is close to my heart, and I'm very happy to share it with you. This time of life is an elderly time of life. So here you can see me. In the middle is Dan's grandpa. I think he was 92 in this picture. And you can see Dan's dad. So we have, and my children. We were at the beach together. The next year after this, Dan's grandpa in this picture, he passed away. So this was a really special trip where we got to spend good quality time together. He was active. He was feeling good. So this was a really special time to spend together. So we had great family time. He was able to be active, and he could tell us so many stories and talk to us about his life. So that's something that elderly people love, is if you say, tell me a story. Oh, I see this picture on the wall. Tell me about it. Where did you get that painting? And they'll probably talk for hours. And this is a really wonderful way to bond together. And a great way to show respect and care for elderly people. I want to give you a quick tip about this word elderly. The word elderly, we only use when someone is physically not as capable. So maybe you are 75 years old and you're able to go on a hike and you're able to get in and out of your car easily. You're able to go up and down the stairs. I would say you're not elderly. You're older. You're not elderly, just older. But for Dan's great grandpa, he was elderly. His knees hurt. I mean, your knees could hurt when you're 40, but he definitely wasn't as capable as he was 15 years before that. So for Dan's grandpa, I would say he is elderly. But usually this is about a physical change in your body where you are starting to seem really old at that point. I mean, when you're 92, you're pretty old, right? It's amazing to live to 92. And he's a wonderful guy. Milford, great guy. All right, let's go to our next category. The next category are important places in town. And the first place is the bank. Yes, we can do a lot of banking on your phone nowadays, but it is still important to go into the bank, or at least drive through the bank if you're an American, occasionally. This person who is working at the bank is a bank teller. This is the same word as to tell someone the truth, a teller, a bank teller. In fact, I was a bank teller for maybe a year, probably like 9 months, a long time ago. And it was one of the best jobs I've ever had. I loved being a bank teller. I don't know why. People just were so nice to you. And the little town where I worked, it was so cute. So many unusual people came into the bank. It was like the center of the town. Everyone was there. I loved being a bank teller. And bank tellers all the time are working with different transactions. They are giving money, they are receiving money, they're doing lots of different things. These are all transactions. Two common words that we can use to talk about what happens in the bank is to withdraw or deposit money. So let's imagine that you have a bank account and you want to get money out of the bank account. You could go into the bank and say, I would like to withdraw $20. Great. Or if you have a check that you received from your job, you could say, I would like to deposit my check, please. And they'll say, okay, let's do it. But to do that, you need a checking account or a savings account. So if you don't have that, you could go into the bank and say, I would like to open a checking account. Or what kind of documents do I need to open a checking account? And they'll help you to work through that process. The next important place in a town is the hospital. I hope you don't have to go to the hospital often, but it's important to be able to talk about it. If you have a sickness and you need to go into the hospital, we often use the word admitted. I was admitted into the hospital at 4 p.m. today. Or we could see here, grandma, this is not my grandma, this is just a picture. Grandma was admitted to the hospital at 4 p.m. They have a room for her. She's not waiting in the lobby anymore. She was admitted to the hospital. But the good thing is she is in a stable condition. This is a fixed expression, and it means she's not critical. There's not something really bad that could happen at any time. No, she's in a stable condition. They're just watching her. If she had a problem before and now she's in a stable condition, you might say, oh, I'm so glad that she's out of the woods. Was grandma going for a hike? No. This means she was in a dangerous, scary, unhealthy place, and now she's on the other side in the sunshine. This is the metaphor here. So we could say she's out of the woods, the danger is over, she's in a stable condition. And the doctor has given her a clean bill of health. This is also a fixed expression. The doctor said, here is your clean bill of health. Maybe it's a paper, or maybe he just says, you know what? You're healthy. Great. You can go home. I have been given a clean bill of health. The next important place is a school. So this is a picture of an elementary school in my town. They actually ended up closing it. This was a really special public school. They were trying a new type of learning system, and I think the management just didn't work out. I don't know all the details, but during the years of COVID, as you can see by people's masks, there were a lot of protests and gatherings of people saying, keep kids in their classrooms, save Asheville Primary School. We want to keep this school. So a school is an important part of any community, and this is a primary school. We could say elementary school too. It is a public school. That means it is paid for with taxes, and you don't need to pay extra to go to that school. The other side is a private school where you have to pay tuition every year to go there. And you also have to pay taxes, so you're also paying for public school at the same time. In this situation, I think the school administration had some problems. There was some problems with the directors and that type of thing. It wasn't a problem with the teachers and the students, so that's why the school closed. And they're kind of demonstrating or protesting, saying, come on, keep our school open. We need this place. And they really did. It was a really great school. All right, the next important place in the town is the police station. Have you ever been to the police station in your town? I'm curious if you have. If there is a big problem, you might use the phrase, call 911. This could be for someone getting hurt. It could be for if there's a fire. It could be if someone broke into your house and stole stuff and you came home and you saw the mess. You might say, call 911. Or you might say, call the cops. And cop is a slang term for a police officer. It's not rude to say cop, but it's better to say police officer. If you were talking to a police officer, don't say cop. But if you're talking just in another situation, then the word cop is totally fine. You're going to hear it all the time, but it is a little bit more slang. I'm curious if anyone here is a police officer. If you are from like an English-speaking area and someone said, you're a cop or something like that, would that be okay? Does that feel uncomfortable to you? I think there is a slight nuance or feeling about the word cop that means like you're distrustful or corrupt, or there's some problem with the word cop specifically. So that's just kind of the feel of it, but it doesn't have to be, it's just slang. Oftentimes the police station, this says police headquarters, but it's also called the police department. You might see that shortened to PD. So if there's an announcement in your town, it might say, like, here's the announcement, nobody can park on the side of the road on Tuesday because blah, 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 blah. Signed PD. Okay? Who is PD? It's the police department. And what does the police department do? They try to keep the peace. They try to keep the peace. Sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't happen, but that's the general goal, right, of the police department. So as long as you are not on the wrong side of the law, you're going to be okay, right? We hope so. The next important place in a community is the grocery store. This is a screenshot from the video that I made. You can watch it up here of going to the grocery store. This is the produce section. And we often say, I'm going to the store. What store? Well, you know what? We sometimes don't even specify grocery store. We might just say, I'm going to the store. Do you need anything? Oh yeah, we don't have any more butter. Can you get some? You know that I'm talking about the grocery store, even when I just say, I'm going to the store. I'm going grocery shopping. And that's how I pronounce it, grosh, with a sh in the middle, grocery shopping. But some people say grocery with an S, grocery shopping, just a regional difference. All of the food that you can see in this picture, they are perishable goods. So we use this in two ways. We could say that these are perishable goods, but we could also say unperishable goods. So that means canned goods. Sometimes in a town around the holidays, around Thanksgiving or around Christmas, different businesses will have a food drive, and this means they want people to donate food. And they'll say, please bring unperishable foods. And this is like canned corn or dried beans, things like this that will not rot and go bad. These things are also staples. You need beans, you need some cans in your house, maybe a can of tomato sauce, something like this. These are staples. They're also shelf-stable goods. So all of these words are similar. Unperishable, shelf-stable, they're not going to rot, and a lot of them are staples as well. It's usually a good idea, in my opinion, to stock up on items that you use frequently. That way you don't have to constantly go out to the store and get more. So in my house, we have maybe like 4 cans of tomato sauce. We use tomato sauce frequently in our cooking, and I don't want to go out to the store multiple times a week. I don't have time for that. So I try to stock up on the most used items, have a couple of them, and then I don't need to go to the store as much. The next important place in the community is the gas station. Here's another screenshot from a video that I made. You can watch it up here. Going to the gas station. I'm filling up my car because my car was running on fumes. This is a great expression that means there was no gas. It was very, very, very low. So I was just running on fumes. But after I paid at the pump, because in the US, you pay here at the pump. And if you watch that video, you'll see how I do that. So after that, I had a full tank and I could drive my car. If you're paying with cash, I talk about this in this video. If you're paying with cash, you can go inside. There's usually like a little mart, a little shop, and you can give them the cash and you can, in that way, pay for your gas. But if you're paying with a card, you can pay at the pump. All right, let's start with the next category, which is at work. Here we can see cubicles. These people work in an office. Sometimes we say this is a cube farm. It's not a very positive expression because everything is very similar, but that's just an expression that's sometimes used. These people have a desk job or an office job. So if someone asks, what do? You could say, I have a desk job. Okay, you don't want to explain the details. You have a desk job. They might work in customer service or tech support. They might be writing something. They might be like creative writers for the marketing team. There's all different types of jobs that you can have at a desk. And in this picture, it seems like everyone is pretty concentrated. This is the opposite of what we saw before, this collaboration and working together. It's possible that right now they are concentrated on their work, and then at 3 o'clock, the team has a meeting where they collaborate together, and then they go back to their desks and work alone to focus on what they're doing. So there's different ways that you could work at a desk. This picture, this is just a good illustration of a hierarchy. Listen to the pronunciation of this word. Higher, like up high, hierarchy. It has a k sound, even though there's a ch. Don't be fooled. A hierarchy. So every business, I think every business that is run well has some kind of hierarchy. There is a guy or girl at the top, and below them are some managers, and below them, maybe more managers, and below them are people who are doing various jobs. So there's different departments. This is all part of the hierarchy. This kind of a organizational chart, but sometimes a hierarchy, a strict hierarchy in a job can be related to a pretty negative expression, which is the rat race. This term, you can imagine, is not very positive. It doesn't feel very creative or independent or fulfilling when you're doing a job and you feel like you're not feeling fulfilled by your job. You might just say, I'm in the rat race. I want to find a job where I feel some meaning and some importance in my job. I want to get out of the rat race. Because sometimes when you're trying to get something done in a very strict hierarchical, I can say that, hierarchical business, it's really hard to get stuff done because you have to run it up the chain of command. This is a big expression, but it's great to know. You have to run it up the chain of command. Run your idea up the chain of command. They have to ask their managers, they have to ask their managers, they have to ask their department heads, blah, blah, blah. It takes forever to get anything done. So that can be really frustrating. And if you want to change anything, if you have a really strict hierarchy in your business, well, you might not be able to change anything because of, another great expression, because of the powers that be. This is a kind of strange expression. The powers that be what? That's it. That's the full expression. So we might use this by saying, I just really want to change how my school works and how my school runs, but I can't do anything because of the powers that be. I'm not blaming an individual. I'm just saying the system is broken. The powers that be are stopping me from changing the important functions of my job, something like this. Great expressions. The next at work picture is this one. You can see they're in a conference room, which we sometimes call a meeting space. They're brainstorming, giving a presentation or a pitch about a new product. A pitch is usually to convince someone about something. A presentation could be a pitch, or it could just be, here's what's going on. I want to tell you about what I've been working on. And the person at the front is leading the meeting, or we could use the term facilitating the meeting. That means that they're in charge of the meeting, they're leading it, they're helping everyone to understand what's going on. If you have to give presentations in English, this can be extremely nerve-wracking. So I highly recommend practicing so much in advance, not in a workplace situation. I have a video that will help you to step by step feel more and more comfortable speaking in English so that you can give a presentation in English, no problem. I will link that video up here so that you can feel really comfortable with that. The next at work picture is kind of amazing, actually. It is a break room. I've never worked in a job that had a break room that looked like this, but this is an example. I think this is a Google office, actually. There's swings. There's these little tables. There's cool decorations. There's a foosball table. That's awesome. And a sign that says chill. Most break rooms are just like a little kitchen with a table and a microwave. But I thought this picture would be more inspiring and exciting. Have you ever worked in a place that had a break room like this? Usually you go there to eat lunch, take a break. You might go there to take a breather. This means if you're feeling stressed with your job, I'll just go to the break room and swing on a swing. How cool. If there's a lot of people in the break room and there's one chair available, a great expression you can say is this available? Is this seat taken? Mind if I sit here? And that's just a great way to say, hey, can I sit in this chair? And you could also go to the break room to just chat with coworkers. Some people like this, some people don't. Sometimes break rooms can be a little bit uncomfortable. This place certainly looks amazing. The next at work phrase is to get a promotion. So this guy is getting promoted in the military specifically, but of course for any job you could get promoted. Usually that involves, hopefully, higher pay. Usually it also involves more responsibilities or an acknowledgement of your past successful work. And we often say you're climbing the ladder. It might be within an office, it might be within the military. If it is the military, we sometimes use a more military type expression, which is rising through the ranks. So the term rank is the different levels of hierarchy within the military. So if someone's in the military, you might say, what's your rank? Or I can't believe that I am a higher rank than he is. So that's why we say this rising through the ranks to be just more for the military. You might hear that in the office, but you're more likely to hear, I'm climbing the ladder. I'm climbing the corporate ladder. I'm getting promoted. So we could say even to work your way up the ladder. To work your way up the ladder means you're getting promoted, you're working on getting more complicated skills, and hopefully you will be acknowledged for those skills. And maybe, just maybe, if you work in an office, sometimes this is a little joke, we say you might get a corner office. So this means that your office has more room to look out. You might have a window in your office. And really, if you work in a traditional office, having a corner office where you can look out more, you have more desk space, this is a sign of a promotion. So even though it is a slight joke, this is also something that could be pretty great if you work in an office area. All right, this next picture is a negative one. Are you working too much? You might be. A lot of people are. You might be a workaholic. You might not need to work as much as you are, but you just can't stop. This term workaholic comes from alcoholic. An alcoholic drinks too much alcohol. A workaholic does too much work, and it's not necessary work. It's just too much work. They just stay at the office or just keep working, and they neglect the other parts of their life. I don't know if this lady is actually a workaholic, but she certainly looks like she has no work-life balance. This expression is often hyphenated, work-life. She has no work-life balance. So you might say, I need a new job. I have no work-life balance. I can't spend time with my family and keep up with my career. I'm just working too much. Also, it looks quite dark in this office. So for someone who's working late at night, not because you're scheduled to work late at night, but because you're working after hours. You're working too much. You are burning the midnight oil. Burning the midnight oil means you're working late into the night. You probably don't have an oil lamp unless you're living 100 years ago, or maybe unless you're super cool. We don't have oil lamps really anymore, but we still use that expression. I'm burning the midnight oil. I have to finish this project by tomorrow morning. Or if you're studying late into the night, I'm burning the midnight oil so that I can prepare for this test. Another expression about burning stuff that we use in the same situation is to burn the candle at both ends. So this means that you're trying to work at night and work in the morning, and you're just doing too much. You are getting, another burn expression, burnt out. Why do we have so many fire expressions for doing too much? I guess it's a really apt idea. Fire. So I hope that you don't get burnt out of your job. For me, I think it's really common for people who make YouTube videos to get burnt out. That means that they are creating too much, maybe things that they don't want to create. So for me, an important thing for me to do so that I don't get burnt out, so that I can continue making videos, is I try to make videos that I enjoy making. Not just videos that I know for sure my students will love this video, but also occasionally a video that I just want to make because I think it'll be fun. All right, let's go to our next final category, which is around the house. Boom, ba-dum. This is not my house. I'm curious, does your house look like this? All white, gigantic, huge windows, the biggest kitchen of all time. And what is that? 8 chairs? And white chairs. Obviously, no children live in this house. Can you imagine? One little dirty finger touching that white chair. It'd be a disaster. But this is a kitchen and dining area. And notice that they are not separate rooms. This is a modern concept, and we have a specific term for it. We would say this is an open concept. An open concept means that there's no separation between the kitchen and the dining area. And the idea, sometimes the living room too, sometimes it's all one big room. And the idea is that cooking is kind of a community activity. So if you have guests, you can cook and you can still talk to them because they're on the couch or they're at the table and everyone is still together. I like this. I like a little bit of separation. I guess this is okay for an eating area, but it is nice, in my opinion, to be able to see the guests in your house or your family in your house. We also say that you can have a family meal around the dining room table. I cannot imagine my family eating at this table. They would make it an absolute mess. Too white. But we often have, for us, we have a family meal around the dining room table every night for dinner. Some people say the kitchen is the heart of the home. Does your native language have a similar expression? Kitchen is the heart of the home. I'm curious. It just means that this is where all of the most important things happen. But if there are too many people in the kitchen, I love this expression, too many cooks in the kitchen. So if there is someone chopping things, someone baking something, someone preparing the dessert, too many cooks in the kitchen. Somebody get out. So for example, at Christmas, I used this expression because my mother-in-law was in the kitchen, my father-in-law was in the kitchen, my sister-in-law was in the kitchen. And I thought, maybe I should help. Nah, too many cooks in the kitchen. And I even said this, hey, can I help? Can I do anything? And they said, nope, we're fine. Because sometimes it's worse to have too many people in the kitchen. Too many cooks in the kitchen, not a good idea. The next place in the home is the bathroom. So in the US, when we have to use the bathroom, that's the term we use. We say, I have to use the bathroom, or I have to go to the bathroom. In the US, we would never say, I have to go to the toilet, or where is the toilet? We hardly ever use the word toilet, but in the UK, in England and other places, this is really common to just say, where's the toilet? But in the US, it feels dirty to say that. If you want more bathroom expressions, I made a tour of my bathroom in my house, and I talked about a lot of bathroom-specific expressions. You can watch that up here. Sometimes there is a bathroom that has no bath. How weird is that? It's not weird. This is very normal actually in the US, but we still call it a bathroom. So this place, this picture, has only a shower. You can't fill that up and take a bath, but we still call it a bathroom. And guess what? If there is no shower, no bath, there's just a toilet and a sink, it's still a bathroom. Amazing. Because for some reason in the US, we'd like to be very indirect when we talk about this place. We wouldn't say the toilet. We would just say it's a bathroom. If you are going on tours of houses because you're thinking about purchasing a house, or if you're renting an apartment, something like this, you might hear the term half bath. And it doesn't mean there's half a bathtub. It means there's no bath, there's no bathtub and no shower in there. So for example, in my house, we have 2 full bathrooms. There's a toilet, a sink, a bathtub, and a shower in both of them. But when I was growing up, the house that I grew up in, upstairs, we had a full bathroom, all of those things. And downstairs, we had a half bath, just a toilet and a sink. Great. That's all we needed in that area. We didn't need to take a bath downstairs. So that was what we called it. It was, or what the ad for the house said, a half bath. So you might see 2.5 bath. 2.5 bath means 2 full bathrooms and a half bath. Here you can also see the counter. There are 2 sinks. How extravagant. But this area, we sometimes say when there's a sink and there's mirrors and lights like this for getting ready in the morning, it's a vanity. So the word vain, that's what this comes from. Vain means I only think about myself and my looks and this type of personality. She is so vain. You might know this this famous song, You're So Vain. But this is what we call the furniture. It is a vanity. So this is the vanity. Where's all your makeup? It's in the vanity. Where's all your jewelry? It's in the vanity. This could be in the bathroom, or it could be potentially even in the bedroom as a piece of wooden furniture. But that's what we call the area where you get ready. All right, let's take a look at the next place in the home, which is the living area. We could call this the living room, the family room, the main room. In the South, sometimes people say the den. There's a lot of terms for this. This is a very lovely place. I would say it's cozy. It's used for entertaining. It's used for relaxing. This is not my house. This is just a picture that I thought was interesting. It has a fireplace. There's lots of furniture. There's a couch. I say couch. Some people say sofa. Both are fine. Just a personal preference. There is an armchair, that little chair. There is the green table in the middle. We could say a table, but you know what we usually call that? A coffee table. I have rarely put coffee on it, but we always call it a coffee table. So if you're looking to purchase a small table to go in front of your couch, it's called a coffee table. Even if you don't drink coffee like me, or if you never put coffee on it, it's still a coffee table. Another room that if you're lucky, you will have a full room. This is a pretty big one, but you will have a full room in your house that is a laundry room. Sometimes we call it a utility room. In the US, usually there is a separate room. It might be like a closet. It's not as big as this, but I know in a lot of countries, the washer is like in the kitchen or it's in the bathroom. But if you have a separate room, it's called a laundry room. You can use it for your washer and dryer, or you can use a rack and hand wash your clothes and put them on the clothing rack or on a line outside to dry. There's a lot of different things that you need to do when you wash clothes. You need to sort them, choose what you're going to wash with what. In my house, we don't really sort clothes. We just have clothes, towels, and sheets. That's about it, I think. Yeah. If we have a lot of new clothes, then I wash the new clothes separately. But that's it. I never separate clothes. It's just clothes. Sometimes kids' clothes is one load and adult clothes is another. But I don't really separate. I've never separated light clothes, dark clothes. I don't know. So far it's worked. Let me know. Do you separate clothes when you wash them? But you need to sort them. You need to fold them after you wash them. Maybe you need to iron them, and then you need to hang them up. So here, there's a couple shirts that are already hung up. How lucky that they have a nice rack to hang them from with those hangers. And there's a laundry basket that you put the dirty clothes in. Some people call this a hamper, a laundry hamper. For me, I call it a laundry basket, but I think my mom calls it a hamper. Maybe she calls it a laundry basket too, but it's just a personal preference. All right, the next place is a garage. Isn't this a cool looking garage? This is a very modern looking house, but in the garage, that's where you keep your car. So you can use it for parking. You can use it for extra storage. There's kind of a stereotype in the US that Americans have everything in their garage except their car. So there's so much storage and junk in the garage that there's no room for the car. So people park on their driveway in front of the garage and then put their junk in the garage. For me, I don't have a garage, so I don't have this problem. But if you have a garage, it can easily just collect junk. So this is a little strange thing about English, but we would say we park in the driveway. The driveway is the area in front of the garage outside. We park in the driveway. For me, I park in my driveway because I don't have a garage. It's outside all the time. Gets hot, gets rained on, gets snowed on. That's the way it is. So you park in the driveway. But in the US, we have highways, interstates, and parkways. You drive on a parkway. What? I highly recommend if you visit the south of the US to drive on the Blue Ridge Parkway. This is a beautiful road that drives through the Appalachian Mountains for hundreds of miles. And it's not through any towns. It's only in the mountains. So it's a very scenic parkway. But you drive on the parkway and you park in your driveway. English, what were you thinking? Something else that people often do in their driveway or their garage or also their yard is to have a garage sale. Notice the pronunciation of that word. Garage. Garage. It's almost like a Z. Garage sale or a yard sale. So if you have a lot of stuff that you want to get rid of and you don't want to just donate it, you could put out some signs around your neighborhood and on an early Saturday morning, 7 a.m., something like that, put everything on your driveway or in your yard, a yard sale, and people will come and purchase it. Super cheap, maybe $1 per item or $2, two things for $1. Make it super cheap. You can find some treasures, find some junk, but that's something that people do in their garage or their driveway. I would say, even though it's called a garage sale, they most likely happen on the driveway because the garage is like a little more private. It's kind of like in your house a little bit. So the driveway is more common, even though it's called a garage sale. There you go. 2 quick phrases that I think are important to know about a garage. If you say, my car is parked in the garage, that's this picture. That car is parked in the garage. But if you say, my car is in the garage, we have 2 options. It could be this picture. That car is in the garage. Or garage can also be a different term for a mechanic. So it could mean that your car is at the mechanic's because there's something wrong with it. So some people might say like, oh, my car's broken down, I have to take it to the mechanic. But some people could say, my car's broken down, so I'm going to take it to the garage. Not my garage. If you take it to my garage, I won't fix your car, but that means taking it to the mechanic. So if someone says, where's your car? Oh, it's at the garage. I just need to get something fixed. Okay, we have the context that something's wrong. We're not talking about your home garage. We're talking about the mechanic. For me, I'm more likely to say the mechanic. It's at the mechanic, or it's at the shop. Here we have another time when we use a general term. Go to the store, at the shop. What store? What shop? It's all implied. When we say my car is at the shop, it doesn't mean I'm selling my car. It means it's at the mechanic's shop. So there's a lot of different ways that you can talk about this. All right, our final picture is my lovely garden. I'm so proud of this garden. So this is the garden in my backyard for vegetables. There are some flowers here. This was kind of early summer. You can see a lot of the trellises are still empty. Some of the cucumbers are coming up the vines. The front trellis has some flowers about to go over the trellis. By the end of the summer, it was thick with flowers and leaves on that trellis, and I had to cut a hole to be able to go through the trellis. It was really exciting. But this is a vegetable garden. I have raised beds. You can see they are rectangles. It's not just soil on the ground. I tried to do that, but I think with kids, it was hard for them to know where they could walk and where they couldn't walk. So the dirt just kind of got pushed everywhere. So I like to have a vegetable garden with raised beds. Not everyone does this, but that's okay. And I like to have a garden with my kids because it's just fun to get your hands dirty together. This is kind of a fun fixed expression. We say, I like to get my hands dirty. That means I don't like to just watch it. I like to do it. You might even use that for an activity that's not in the dirt. So if you like, let's say, if you like to go mountain biking, you might say, oh no, let's say basketball, because that's a good thing you can watch. I like basketball. Okay. Do you like to watch basketball? Do you like to go to the local sports stadium and watch them? Nope. I like to get my hands dirty. I like to play basketball. It's talking about you being the one to do the activity instead of just watching it. So it's a good one to use for the garden because there is really dirt. I like to get my hands dirty, but it also means I like to do it myself. And there's another kind of double meaning idiom I want to share with you for this picture, and it is you reap what you sow. This could be very scary because in life, this means whatever you put into the world, it will also happen to you. It's kind of like karma, a similar type of idea. If you, for example, if you are mean to your dog, if you hurt your dog, that dog is not going to be a nice dog. And when your dog bites you, well, you reap what you sow. That's your fault. But we can also use it in a really literal sense. You reap, that means you harvest what you sow. And sow is kind of an old-fashioned term for planting. So I planted tomatoes, this first bed here. You can kind of see some green tomatoes. I planted tomatoes, or I sowed tomatoes, and then I can harvest tomatoes later. I can reap tomatoes later. The word reap and sow are quite old-fashioned, but that's why they work so well in that idiom. So we could say, yeah, I I will reap what I sow, hopefully. Hopefully no bugs will eat it before I get to it. But we are more likely to use that expression to talk about actions in daily life. For me, as a parent, I work really hard to try to be a good parent, to try to be kind to my children, but also to have boundaries and rules and try to be very thoughtful. I am trying to sow a good relationship so that throughout our lives, I can harvest a long-term good relationship with them. That's the goal. So this kind of metaphor to talk about daily life. So I hope my garden looks like this summer too. Nice and full. So many exciting things growing there. Makes me excited for summer. Well, congratulations. You just learned 250 important vocabulary expressions with pictures. I highly recommend downloading the free PDF worksheet so that you never forget all of these phrases, the definitions, the sample sentences. All of this will give you extra input to help you never forget it and use these expressions when you speak. That's so important to be able to express yourself completely. You can click on the link in the description to download that free PDF worksheet today. Well, thank you so much for learning English with me, and I'll see you again next Friday for a new lesson here on my YouTube channel. Bye! But wait, do you want more? I recommend watching this video next. 250 more important English vocabulary words with pictures. You'll learn why it's rude to say that someone is cheap, but it's polite to say that they're frugal. Watch that video with me to find out, and I'll see you there.